Hello, and welcome to our ongoing series of webcasts here at HMS Software. Today we'll be looking at the latest version of TimeControl Industrial, version 5.1. If this is your first visit to the HMS Software website or your first look at one of our webcasts, let me take a moment to introduce ourselves. HMS Software has been in the enterprise project management and enterprise timesheet industries since the early 80s. We've partnered with companies like Deltek, Primavera, and Microsoft. In 1994, we made TimeControl a commercial product, and TimeControl has been distributed around the world since that time. And in 2007, we released the very first version of TimeControl Industrial. HMS Software has been involved in some of Canada's most prestigious projects, and we've been involved in projects in a variety of industries around the world, including work on the F-18 aircraft, hydropower work at James Bay Hydro in northern Quebec, or in Ontario on the nuclear program. We've worked on defense projects like the light armored vehicle from General Dynamics, and in offshore oil projects like the Hibernia platform in the Atlantic. When we start talking about timesheets, we really have to start asking, what do you mean by a timesheet? By far the most common timesheet system would have to be time and attendance. This kind of a system will track, were you on site or not, did you come to the office or not. It might also be able to track vacation time, sick leave, personal time. And sometimes these systems are tied to a card scanning software to be able to determine your presence. Time and billing systems would be the next most common, and we would typically see these kinds of systems with accountants or lawyers or consultants, where the information we need to track is who is the client that we are billing these hours to, how much are we billing them for, and enough of an explanation that we'd be able to justify the invoice later. If you're in the project management industry or been involved with project management at all, then your interest in time may start from the plan of each task. And the timesheets that are collected are then an extension of that thought to say, well, we had an actual plan. What time did we put in on the project? And compare that against the original plan so we can see whether we are ahead or behind of where we expected. And if you work in heavy engineering, heavy construction, or plant maintenance, anything where the employees might not have access to a terminal or a desktop, but in fact may be working in the field, then field timesheets means collecting what people did with their time, not just whether they were there or not. So we can gather that information together and not only take care of payroll, but take care of job costing and project management. Our view in TimeControl was that we could create a single system that would be able to serve these needs simultaneously. That we would be able to get the time and attendance information, the HR information, the information for billing, the information to go back to project management, even the information from the field into a single database from one interface, and serve both the back office and the field personnel simultaneously. If you don't get something like TimeControl, for organizations that have tried to do something else, here's the most common thing we see. It's not that organizations are not automated. In fact, they become somewhat over-automated. The most common scenario is that organizations end up with more than one timesheet at one time. We have something that links to the project management system, another thing that links to our ERP or payroll system, something else that was created for a department in Excel or Access, done very ad hoc. And at the end of the day, we not only can have employees who must fill in more than one timesheet, we can have multiple non-reconcilable systems. And this is terribly ineffective for the organization, not to mention time-consuming in terms of how long it takes the data to be gathered for any kind of reporting or analysis. The astronomer Rheticus, a long time ago, coined a phrase that is now very popular in the project management world. He said, if you can measure something, then you have some control over it. These days, we've paraphrased that in the project management world to say, what gets measured gets done. And we believe in that strongly here at HMS, both in our EPM practice, but also in the timesheet business. If you can track what is actually happening task by task, then you have some chance of gaining control over it. TimeControl Industrial, which we're going to look at here in just a moment, is a timesheet system that's designed to serve not just the back office, but also field personnel. So we have functionality that is appropriate for the desktop user, and some functionality appropriate for field level collection of timesheets, and functionality that's appropriate for administrators and those looking at the data. Okay, well, enough talking about it. Let's take a look now at TimeControl Industrial 5.1. Okay, we're going to take a look at TimeControl Industrial now. And I'm going to start off by taking a look at how time control might look to someone from the back office. So we'll log in as Gail Robinson, just to quickly take a look at how a timesheet might look for an individual. You can get more information on time control used in the classic sense by taking a look at one of the webcasts on the standard version of time control. For Gail, she has access to some of the menu items. And we'll go in and simply add a timesheet for her for this week. And when we do, you'll see that Gail has some items on her timesheet that are preloaded. We allow preloading in the timesheet for some individuals if that's something that you need, and we can simply go in and add hours either from the preloaded list, or we can even add our own item by simply selecting the project and then the possible charge codes that we would want to meet, such as, well, maybe a vacation day for Friday. And once we're done with that, we can save it. We can add freeform notes if we wish. Take a look at additional information about each of these line items, or information that might have come from the project management system. We can summarize these things by project, or by charge code, or by rate, and we can even add in expenses to the system. When we're done, we release that timesheet where it's going from Gail. It's going to Tom, who is her supervisor, and as you can see, it's been grayed out now because that means that she has given that timesheet over to somewhere else. Now, Tom can go in and reject that timesheet or accept it, and then project managers for the boat show and the polar project would be able to take a look at that data once posted and be able to do adjustments without changing the totals. Well, that's true for a back office personnel, but let's go in and take a look at the system if I was a person who entered crew entries and material and crew entries for the system. And so I'm going to go in as Diana Jacobs. Diana is somebody who enters crews. You can see, first of all, Diana's homepage looks a little bit different. It tells us about her timesheet status. It allows us to take a look at things like banked hours, how many vacation hours has she taken, how much sick leave, and so on. Up at the top, we have something that's a full-time equivalency report, and in fact, if we just extend that period, you can see that we can get detailed information on how many people were on site for any particular day or any particular week. These are the kinds of dashboard items that you can insert. There's really no limit to the kinds of things that you could create and put into your own dashboard. Well, for Diana, let's go in and put in a crew entry for a timesheet. We have one created already, but we'll add a brand new one. She can select from the crews that have been predefined. So if we select one of those crews, and we can select the date that occurs on, we can just adjust the columns here a little bit so we can see more of it. We can have a timesheet that goes only for one day, or we can have a timesheet that goes for an entire week. And we can even enter in start-stop times for that shift at as many intervals as we wish for that week. Well, we're going to insert something fairly straightforward. We're going to say the entire crew worked on a particular task on Friday. We were at the Baker Industries site. We worked on the site preparation. We can choose a rate code, perhaps a standard rate, and we can say that we did 4.5 hours doing that on Friday. And you can see that the system then ripples through and adds a whole range of information that comes from defaults for that crew. And on Friday, it tells us that 4.5 hours were entered for each one of those people. We can finish off the Friday information. We'll select everyone again, perhaps everyone but Andrew Kanoa, and we'll say we also we're working at the Baker site. This time we worked on something different. We were working on the conveyors. And again, we had the S rate code. Now we can type that in, or we can select it. And we can say that we worked 3.5 hours, and you can see that additional information was then entered here. We can continue doing this basically for as many lines as we want, with as many crew members as we want. If we want to add something just for one person, we can go right in here and simply insert a new line. And we would be able to insert a line for a single person in the crew, because we have in this view we have the name of the person, we have the project, and everything else that we need for that crew timesheet. Just like in the regular timesheet, we can also put in notes. We can do a worksheet to summarize by project or by rate code to make sure that we don't have too much of one thing or not enough of another. And when we're done, we can then release this timesheet to wherever it would go. In this case, Diana has the privilege to distribute and release this timesheet for approval directly to posting, and we find out immediately that this timesheet, we've been able to post that information right for those people. So we've updated those people and we've posted all this information. And that's no longer appearing because we've closed that off, and that's in the system now. We set up the crew timesheets by looking at the Manage Crew area, and we'll take a look at Carl Linden's crew here, which you can see is right here. And this is where we can add or remove people from that crew. We can put in a information for the crew to work on a daily timesheet or not. We can add in other information like user-defined fields. We can even go in person by person to find out information about that person that has been saved back in the employee table. All of that can be managed here from the crew managed crew area. Also, for crews and for materials, we can have extended rates, and extended rates go beyond a simple rate code, where we match each of these columns. So we can match a project name, a trade, a shift, a rate code. We can add as many columns to what needs to be matched as not. We can add additional rate values, and when that becomes effective, and you can see that we can end up with literally thousands of different kinds of rates per person based on the different things that they might be doing. When we look at materials, it's very much the same, except materials are not bundled like a crew is. If we add a material entry, we have to say, well, this is materials and equipment for the Baker site. Perhaps that was done on the 8th of April. We can copy a previous one if we want, and we get a possible release path. We can predefine release paths for materials because they're handled a little bit different than labor. And we can say, materials and equipment, well, maybe materials is approved one way, material for the Baker site is approved another, perhaps equipment for the Acme site is approved in yet a third way. In this case, we've only created one, but we can make as many of these as we wish. Whoops, we just need to go back and enter that again. So, material, equipment from Baker site. And we'll go and enter that into, say, let's go create a new materials entry. Here we can select from possible resources. These are resources that are known back in the project management system. I can say this is perhaps a material resource. I can select the project that we're going to work on, maybe the Baker site. And again, the charge code, just like we did, we can have a hierarchical charge code like we did for labor. I can say, well, we used 50 of what? Well, we used 50 concrete formwork feet. And we determine what those items are. The rate, as you can see, has been inserted here based on the default that was in the material rate entry. But also I can say, well, this is perhaps in US dollars. And if I apply that, then what happens at the end of that row is we see the totals for rate 1 and for rate 2 times the quantity. We can add as many lines of this as we wish. And when we're done, we can basically say release this for approval. Where this is going next is to John Walker. That is who's going to control it from here. And then he can reject this or accept it. Or if he has permission, he can edit it along the way. We manage this in the materials entry, first of all, by looking at the approval paths. So the approval paths for the materials, you can see we only had one. It goes from whoever the entry user is to John W. And then material rate codes are standard rates for each item. And so we can see that we have a couple of those. So we had in concrete formwork, which was an internal cost of 50 and an external cost of 75. We can use other information to determine things like the currency or the units. And then we can have extended rates just like we do for crews in the system to say, well, for different projects, we're going to charge different things. For different rate codes, we're going to charge different things. And we can have multiple rates and escalation rates that are done here directly. Once data is in the system, we can report on it in a variety of ways. We can use the standard reporting system, and we can run one of the standard reports or create our own material or posted timesheet view. This looks an awful lot like Excel. In fact, it's so much like Excel that I can say that times 0.062 is US dollars, and we'll actually just scroll down to get something that had an actual rate in it. So you can see that we've created a multiple currency report, and as long as it took us to talk about it, this module allows us to save information right in Excel format, and that means that you can open it elsewhere, do charting, or whatever else you want to do from it. We can also link this information to any other system that we wish. We can create transaction files for it by using the link wizard to run or schedule a link. When we create one, it says this is for project management. It says we can select the projects to which we'd like to send information back, and we can make our options then of sending information back to the project management system. Do we want to send the hours and the cost? Do we want to send the resources? Do we want to send the expenses? How would that come back to the project management system? All of that can be controlled by here. We can also export information directly to a financial system like SAP or PeopleSoft or pretty much anything else that we define simply by selecting the type of information that we'd like to do. So if we select post to detail, for example, then we can select all of the possible fields in that table, which would include all the information for costs, for hours, for the date that we did the work. All of these can come into the system, as well as from any table to which that is linked, so that it can include, for example, our employee table and so on. So all of these allow us to create transaction files for the end user. From the executive perspective, and I just want to log in for a moment as an executive. The executive can look at information from reports. They can have their own dashboard that is appropriate for information that they may want to look at. An executive might not see all the things an administrator might see, but they might also be very interested in the full-time equivalent list, or in a budget versus actual for different projects and different charges based on actuals and things that were planned. The executive can also look at information in an ad hoc format, and that is, and this is just asking me if I want to continue letting someone else log in as me, but I can enter information in an ad hoc format. Whoops. Or perhaps not. Okay, we'll come right back to the reports then for the exec. So the executive can take a look at information in a wide variety of formats, whether those are material entries or existing views. So whether we look at information from an ad hoc format or from an export or from a report directly in the system, TimeControl's data is extremely open and extremely flexible, and one of the most integratable systems into other systems that is found on in the industry. Okay, well, let's wrap up with a couple of final slides then. Okay, let's start to wrap up. A couple of final things. As you may have seen, TimeControl has a number of links to it. Well, we are partners. We have our alliance partners with Deltek, with Primavera, who is now part of Oracle, with Microsoft. We have linked with SAP. We're an Oracle partner. TimeControl links to a wide variety of external systems, both project management and finance-based, as well as numerous payroll services and systems. In fact, the linking to these systems is simple enough that typically the HMS technical personnel don't even need to get involved. The key elements of TimeControl Industrial that are worth going back to take a look at or thinking about is, first of all, crew entry. And this is really specifically for the field personnel, where we're able to enter a very high volume of timesheet data as it comes in off of takedown forms from the field. So foremen are able to bring back their data, we're able to put in that data quickly, and then distribute that data either out to individual timesheets or to post it all to those employees' accounts when we're done with that crew's shift. Material and equipment entry, that is to say non-labor entry, is also entered into TimeControl in this way, and it has its own interface. And both the crew entry and material and equipment entry can support extended rates, which allows for very complex rate systems, and their own approval paths. So it's not uncommon to see a crew be approved through one set of administrators, and materials and equipment be approved through other sets of administrators, and you define that when you set up TimeControl. The extended rates, it really allows us an unlimited number of rate codes. So for each column that we can make appear in the crew timesheet or the material or entry screen, we can make a flag in the extended rate table. So you might say that we have different kinds of premiums for different kinds of shifts, different kinds of work, whether someone is on standby or actually active in a job, for the particular trade that they're in or the particular contract that they are a part of. All of these things can be tagged in the crew entry, in the materials or equipment entry, and then tagged back into the extended rate system so that they can quickly be identified. We also support, in the same way, a date so that you can have as of dates, active dates, or escalated rates. The extended rates, here we have only 3 selection, but you can have as many rate codes to do costing as you need to. So if you need to have an unburdened cost, a burdened cost, a billing cost, an internal actual cost, all of these can be maintained off the same rate codes. Being able to be effective is no trivial thing, particularly in a challenging economy. A very interesting survey off the Randy's Myers survey site said, cutting just $1 of operational cost has the same impact as making $13 more of revenue. And TimeControl and working with an enterprise timesheet system, particularly one that can take care of both the field and the back office personnel, can be critical in reducing costs. HMS has head office in Montreal, and we have additional offices of our own in Toronto, Canada. But we're represented by full-service dealers literally around the world. Wherever you are, there's probably a TimeControl dealer or authorized representative near you, and you can stop by the website to get addresses and phone numbers for people who might be close to you to support TimeControl. And our clients we're very proud of. They represent a widespread number of industries, a wide-ranging types of clients in both size and type of work that they do, and a number of them you will recognize. This is just a sample of some of those clients who have worked with HMS in the past. If you're interested in more information on TimeControl, then do stop by the TimeControl site. If you are interested in TimeControl Industrial, you'll find a link at the top of the timecontrol.com site to go to the industrial area. If you're interested in our service solutions, please stop by hms.ca. And if you'd like more information, then contact us by email at info@hmssoftware.ca. Thanks very much for your time. I hope you've enjoyed our webcast, and hope we can help you with your enterprise timesheet needs.